Hi, it's Megan. I have long wanted to do a video on bronzers, and let's just take it beyond just bronzers. Bronzers can be used for contour, they can be used for highlight, they can be used just as basic bronzer. There's so many things you can do with bronzers. I'm a huge bronzer fan. I wear it every day. You can't live without it. And so I'm going to try to get through this really, not quickly, but somewhat quickly, just to show you some of the ways that I use bronzers and some of the products that I use, some of the products that I like. It's not an exhaustive list. I've been through so many bronzers in my day, but I would say the first decision is always matte versus shimmer, and then how much shimmer. And so a matte bronzer is better if you want to kind of contour your face. It's also really good if you want to be using a lot of shimmer on the rest of your face. Sometimes if you're using a shimmery eyeshadow or a glistening lip gloss or even a shimmery blush, having a matte bronzer just keeps your face from having too much shimmer. If you have mostly matte on your face or almost nothing on your face, that little extra shimmer can add a real big positive to your look. You look a little bit more polished. In fact, I forget where I heard it. There's something about how like the modern thing now is a mix of shimmer with matte. I don't know, but that's like the trend, I guess, for some. And then the other thing is the undertone of the bronzer. Most bronzers, since they're brown based, have a warm undertone. I'm trying to think if there's one that I've ever used that doesn't, and I really can't come up with one. There are a lot of contours that have a cool undertone, so if you're super cool and you don't like the brown, you could go to a contour instead of a bronzer, but for the most part they tend to be warm. It's just a question of what the undertone is. I can get away with bronzers that have a slightly yellow or orange undertone since I have a yellow undertone to my skin. My daughter has a real pink undertone and she really cannot get away with something with a yellow undertone at all, or an orange one. A red undertone's flattering. A pink undertone is flattering if you have if you have a cool undertone, and a lot of bronzers have that kind of a pink or red undertone. So I have a whole bunch of products and I'm going to start playing with it. So first I'm just going to pull out a couple products that I really like, and then I'm going to do this with the Too Faced book of bronzers. No, the little black book of bronzers, just because I actually got this for my daughter because she's just starting out with makeup, and I know that seems like a really nice thing to do, but by getting the whole set I can give her a whole bunch of bronzers. She doesn't take mine, and then she gets to play around with different ones and see what works. And then some of these do have a pink undertone, and since her skin tone has a pink undertone, I don't have to worry about trying to figure out which ones are going to work on her. She can kind of just play with these. So some products I really like. First, I really like matte bronzers. Love them. I have one by Urban Decay, Smashbox, Tarte that I use a lot. Benefit has a great one. A lot of them I got actually gift for purchases or part of a bigger set, so I very often used just what I got that way. Some liquid products. So I recently did a video on the Becca Bronzing Skin Perfector, and this has a slight shimmer to it. So I'm going to start with this just because I'm going to do a light contour with it. So it's like this. It's a very light brown, cooler toned than a lot of the other products. It's still warm, but it's cooler. So what I like to do with this is contour. What you're basically doing to contour, kind of puckering up so you get this right here, and then just mixing, blending. And so it's a question of whether you're more comfortable blending in a powder or a liquid cream. What I like about this particular one is that it almost turns into a powder on your skin. It's so light that you can get a really soft look without really having to work at it. I think creams can be sometimes harder to work with. This particular cream is really easy to work with. It's a softer color. It might be too light though for some people who have darker skin tones. So the Lorac Body Bronzing Illuminator I have also used for the same effect. But what I really use this one for is mixing into foundations, just to get a luminous, slight bronze look to it. So all these foundations that came out this summer, the Guerlain and the MAC, that make you look a little bit more tan. So if you're not tanning your face, but you're tanning your body, you kind of even out your foundation. Putting a little bit of this product in will do the same, along with the Becca. Having that liquid formula, you can put it into your foundation. So those are two products I got recently that I really liked. The Chanel Cheeky Blush, so part of their summer collection. It's a cream blush, I guess they don't call it, yeah, they call it a cream blush. Cream blush. Also it has kind of a brown tan skin undertone to it. And this again is a little bit more pink. I very often use bronzer as a blush. This one is kind of a hybrid between the bronzer and the blush. And then I got two blushes that I think are bronzers that I think are really kind of cool because they're almost a light soft shimmer, and so I just wanted to show these, and then I'll go to the Too Faced and just start playing around on my face. This MAC I got in Refined Golden. This is a little yellow, but what I liked about this, it's a little yellow, is that it looks shimmery in the pan, but then on it's almost matte with just a soft touch of shimmer, kind of like the Becca. There's a soft shimmer to it. And I can do a lot more with things like that. I can both contour, and then what I like doing with this type of product is also dotting it on the top of the cheekbones when I've done some contour on my face. If I'm gonna wear a bright, like a red lipstick or a real statement lipstick like a MAC Heroine or a purple or whatever, which I don't do very often, but if I do, very often blush can be an awkward thing. First of all, you need a strong look on your cheek to kind of balance out that strong lip so you don't look washed out, which I can look dead, believe me. I remember I was playing with the MAC Punk Couture collection, put on those lipsticks and I looked dead. But then they put this like darker blush and it worked. But if you add too much color when you have like a red or a really dark pigmented lipstick, it can sometimes just look too colorful. So bronzers can also be a really great way of balancing out a strong lip. You do a little bit of contour with the bronzer and then just highlight, dot on a bronzer with a soft shimmer on top of the cheekbones. So the other one I was going to show is the Dolce & Gabbana, the bronzer in Cashmere. I just really like this a lot. It's a super light bronzer. And we'll get into that in a minute. And so I find it's right there. It's almost like got a golden undertone to it, but a very warm golden undertone. And I really like that actually as a blush instead of the cheeky. It works really well as a blush. Okay, so one more product, and then I'm gonna get to the actual. Another product which is kind of cool. I only have a little one, the Laura Mercier. This is called Golden Mosaic, and what works here is you can use any of these any way you want. So you can use a smaller blush and just use a highlight right here, like right up under. You can use this darker one as an eyeshadow and kind of create a soft golden look on the inside with the darker one on the out. And so this right here can be used almost like a little compact for just an all-around look. Okay, let's get to the bigger Too Faced. And like I said, the reason I like this for this video is because it has basically any kind of bronzer you could want. And I don't think I'm going to actually do a real review on it, but it has a guide to how you can use the different bronzers. See, it's so big it won't fit. This I got from the older website because I didn't really get it in time from the Too Faced. I wasn't sure I wanted to get it. And I don't really have a lot of Too Faced bronzers. I have the Chocolate Soleil and I have the Pink Leopard, but I didn't have the others. So first I'm going to talk about the two Milk Chocolate Soleil and Chocolate Soleil. And these are two matte bronzers. And I'm going to show you how I would use those. So first of all, which one I would use would depend on what time of year it was. If I had a little bit of color on my face, I would go with the darker Chocolate Soleil. I can actually get away with really dark highlighting for some reason, but honestly, it looks better on camera, having done the videos and having lived it in real life. A really soft highlight or contour looks pretty. It looks dramatic on camera. It looks really bad off camera if you go too heavy with it. So the Milk Chocolate Soleil is a light medium matte, and then the Chocolate Soleil is a medium dark matte. If you've got a darker skin tone, go with the dark. If you've got the lighter, go with the milk. I can use both, but I do have to be careful. So for contour, I would use a matte, like I said, right in here. And I'm using a blush brush, not a bronzer brush. And I would dot it up right under the cheekbones. So I'm basically framing the cheekbones. By the end of this, my face is going to be a mess because I will have put bronzer everywhere. But I just want to... So that's the lighter one. And all of a sudden, I get more of a cheekbone. And then here's the darker one. And you can see it a little bit better. And again, just kind of crafting around the cheekbone. And then I would also use this to line the jawline. And what's really great about the Milk Chocolate Soleil, even if you have a darker skin tone, is Many of us do put sunscreen on our face, but we don't put it on our neck or our chest, so it gets darker here. So a lighter, like a milk chocolate soleil, you can kind of brush it, even with a darker skin tone, on your neck a little bit, just to even all that out. Even if our face is getting color, even if it is, our neck might not be. So that's one thing you can do with those too. So contour, go around your cheekbones, go like that. Stuck in the air if you want to see where it is. And I'm looking up to the camera so I can make sure I'm applying it in the right place. Okay, Sun Bunny is the one I'm going to do next. This one right here. This one is a really fun bronzer, and I don't mean just this one, I mean ones like this. Becca just came out with one that does the same thing, that has the darker and the lighter, so you can kind of blot your brush on depending on where you want it. And now I'm going to use a bronzing brush. So for me, I would dot it right in the middle, and then this I would dot, if I'm using it as a bronzer with my blush, I would dot that in right on top of the apple on my cheek. Did you find my smiley? Like that? And again, I would go with what I wanted to get out of it. Do I want it to be a little bit darker? Do I want it to be a little lighter? If you use bronzer like that, you can kind of get both. What I also do with a product like that, or a lighter bronzer, or this one has a slight shimmer to it, and they say this is a natural look. So this is going to be one that you can use if you don't want to go true dramatic. Again, I would use these shades as eyeshadow. Taking the darker one on the outer part of the eye, and you can see this one's a little bit more warm toned and reddish than the one I have in the other from the Laura Mercier. Snow Bunny, this is a luminizer. I'm going to use my blush brush. So with something like this, you're mixing the bronzer and the highlighter, and it's got a pink undertone to it. So this works really well if you want a pink base blush, if you want a highlighter. So what I would do with it, I would take the lighter color, the white, and just dip the top of the brush, and that I would put on the top of my cheekbones. I actually wouldn't mix these together very much because I don't want to put too much highlighter into my blush. Actually, I'm thinking about that. Maybe I'm wrong. It depends on my mood, I guess. But what I would do is I would mix these two together a lot and use this as a beautiful blush in the summertime, or when I don't want too much color in my blush. So again, we will show you another product. This is the Hourglass Luminous Flush. If we've done our highlight on this, we can use something like the Snow Bunny as a blush instead of as a bronzer. We can also just use it instead of mixing a blush and a bronzer together. So the way I've always done it is I've always taken a blush, this one has a highlight in it, put that on top, and I've already got bronzer on there, but put that on top, and then I would do one of two things. I would either contour like this, or I actually would mix the bronzer into the blush like this, and it just, I like the way it looks better. It gives you more of a flushed look as opposed to just the blush itself. But I have to go really light with the bronzer or you end up looking brown. So this Snow Leopard is basically taking all those products and mixing them together, and then you can basically create that mix of the pink highlight and the bronzer, which you use as a blush. I would use as a blush. I would not use this one for contouring. I would definitely take that white though and put it right here under the eyebrows and put it on top of the cheekbones. Then the other one I really wanted to talk about, two of them, was Pink Leopard, which again is mixing the blush with the bronzer concept. We'll just blend that in. It's a little bit darker on me. And this again, I would not use as a highlight. This is a blush that basically is putting shimmer on your cheekbones, and then with the bronzer mixed in is giving you that more sun-kissed look. I actually do that in the winter. I live in Southern California, so very often it's not like I'm more tan in the summer than I am in the winter. We had 90-degree weather in January this year, but I tend, with my skin tone, to look faded in the winter if I don't use a bronzer. So products like this work really well. Then Beach Bunny. So this is a custom blend. And this is great if your skin tone changes a lot. Find a bronzer like this one where you can basically, I actually would use a brush like this. Take this and dot it wherever you want. And then this I actually would use more as a contour, even though it's got a light shimmer to it. This one I would actually use more as a contour because it is mostly brown without that kind of pink undertone to it. And then of course there are always pore perfecting and long wear. I use the long wear sometimes. I've found, I'm going to do a little bit right now, do it on this side. I have found that both, I've got good skin anyway, both the pore perfecting type of bronzers, I'm mixing the pore perfecting in now, and the long wear. The long wear does tend to work better. It works better if you're going to be at the beach or if you can have a really busy day. I don't find that they look unnatural or wear badly on my skin, but I think that's the one thing to look for. If you're going to go with long wear, MAC also does a really great long wear. Think about how it looks on your skin, and with my skin tone, my, you know, I've got a fairly even complexion. I don't have a problem with blotchiness from them, and I also don't really notice much of a difference in the pore perfecting, but that's another way to go. If you have skin that needs that pore perfecting, there are a lot of other companies that make the bronzers. So what I did is I basically said you contour, which is going like this. You can add it on top of your cheekbones, just to sum up, to kind of work as a highlight, and that is going with the whole concept of the bronzer hitting where the sun hits. So again, matte or a light matte. Get the jawline, and you can use this type of a bronzer brush, or you can use a blush brush. When you have ones with more shimmer, put it on the top of the cheekbones, or use it as a blush, or mix it in with blush. Then when you have a highlight, you can use that, or different gradations of color, you can use that to highlight your brow bone. You can also use it as eyeshadow. Then the last thing I wanted to talk about, and I'm going to mix this right here a little bit. Where does the sun hit your face? The sun hits your face on top of your nose. It is right here. It's the top of your cheekbones. Can hit your chin. Can hit right here. When you want to highlight and get that sun-kissed look, you can take I would take a lighter shimmery bronzer, and I would do that. I actually don't like using matte bronzers as much for that, because I feel like if you're really going to show, you know, where the sun is actually hitting your face, if you want a super natural look, you can do a matte, but it's not going to really give you that luminous look. It's just going to give you that, okay, you got a little bit of a tan there, which is still pretty, but it's just not what I personally do. I would take something like the Snow Bunny and just dot it like that. And then you basically are getting that highlight. I think that's pretty much it. Yes, that's pretty much it. Blush, contour, bronzer, eyeshadow, and that luminous thing that it makes you look like you've been out in the sun. And that's it. I would love feedback on this. I've never done a video quite like this one before, so comments are very welcome. And I think that's it. Please subscribe on YouTube. I have a novel on YouTube called Masks, which I'm putting up chapter by chapter, which is about makeup and the masks we wear.